Hey dancers, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to the Confident Dancer YouTube channel. Today I have a very fun and extremely insightful conversation with my friend Allie. Allie runs the Instagram account Align Fitness by Allie, and Allie Christensen, that's her full name, of course, is a fitness trainer for dancers, and she really specializes in helping dancers understand their bodies and create cross-training routines that are very effective and help them dance better, longer, healthier, all the good stuff. So since I not only love Allie's work and her message, but I am very fond of her as a person. As you will see, you'll discover why. Ever since I was on her podcast, which by the way is Beyond the Point podcast, great podcast. She has so many amazing guests on there. I've listened to quite a few episodes myself. Ever since I was on her podcast, we became such fast friends. And so I was very excited to have her on my channel today. And of course, as you've seen in the title, we are talking about myths about cross-training that dancers tend to have, from will I bulk up if I start to lift weights, to I need to do cross-training 5 days a week, to I only cross-train to basically be skinnier. All these things, we address them and we have so much fun doing it. I personally learned a lot in this conversation, and I was surprised with how much I learned. So I think you are really going to enjoy this. Without further ado, enjoy this conversation. And if you want to connect with Allie further, of course, I'll have her website linked below, and follow her on Instagram. Again, Align Fitness by Allie. On her website, you can find all of her online coaching programs. You can book or fitness training programs. And you can also book an individual session with her if you wish. So get in touch with Allie. I hope you love this conversation. Let us know what you think in the comments, and enjoy. Well, hello, Allie. Thank you so much for coming onto the Confident Dancer YouTube channel.
I'm so excited to be here. I loved talking with you last time, and I'm sure I can talk to you for hours. So
we know for a fact.
We know for a fact. So we'll try to keep it together here. But I'm excited to answer your questions and see what you have for me today.
Oh yeah. Hey,
I can talk about anything, so I'm game to do whatever you want to hear.
Awesome. So I know, like, I'm a cat person personally, but I feel like we have that excited puppy dog energy anytime we talk, like, oh my gosh, we're very like-minded in the way that in our philosophies behind how we individually support dancers. And ever since I came across your Instagram page, in which you're a fitness trainer, especially helping dancers to adopt effective training or cross-training routines, I thought, yes, we need to talk about some myths behind cross-training, because personally, in my pre-professional to professional career, I noticed that I had quite a few that held me back from maximizing my strength, which could have helped me prevent injuries, helped me with my technique, and maybe added longevity to my career. So we're going to get into some of those, like, hint, cross-training makes you bulk up, things like that.
The big one, right?
The worst nightmare of every dancer out there. So we're going to talk through that, but I'd love to just start with, how did you get into cross-training or fitness training for dancers?
Yeah, well, I was a professional dancer, trained as you would expect, and very shortly into my professional career, I tore the labrum in my hip and continued dancing through pain, thinking it was just that pinchy, grippy hip flexor that I'd had my entire life, which you shouldn't have, hint, hint, and should not be a thing. But I danced through it, and it ended up being a pretty severe tear. Going through the channels to figure out what was wrong with it, I was told I would have to have several hip surgeries that would end with a hip replacement by the time I was 30, which is younger than I am now. But what I kept hearing the doctor say is movement caused this, and I would have to keep going back because my movement would continue to cause the problem, which they were correct. And it just didn't make sense to me why surgery would be the answer if movement would continue to cause this.
Yes.
So that sent me down a path to figure out my own body, which took me about 2 years. Now somebody who has a labral tear in their hip, which is really common in dancers or anything like that, there's so many more resources for dancers these days, and people who can truly help you figure out, is this surgical? Can I do this movement through a rehab approach. But at that time, it just wasn't prevalent. I know there were people there, but I did not know how to find them. We
Yes.
didn't have social media the way we do now. There weren't organizations of people who were committed to this type of dance science approach to things. So figuring out my own hip led me down a path to work with dancers. And I started out doing gyrotonic training. So I'm a certified trainer and I love it. And it led me into figuring out what else was missing and also realizing that dancers don't have access to that type of equipment. It's not something the equipment's gigantic. You can't have it in your
Yeah,
bedroom with
and it's
you.
hard to find.
Yeah, it's like trying to have a Pilates reformer. Lucky few
Oh
get it
yeah.
in their house, but most of us can't afford or have access to that. So I wanted to figure out how I could maximize working without having equipment. And I had realized that what actually made the difference in my hip training for my injury was weights. And I didn't make that connect right away. One of the doctors I worked with had to point out to me, like, why are you training your dancers in things that are nice but were not effective for your injury? And I was like, oh my
Called
gosh,
out.
because I have all these dance myths, because I hear
Yeah.
all these things in my head that I was grown and raised with, that weights were not good for dancers. They made bulky quads, the list goes on. And even though it healed me, I was afraid to offer that to dancers because of those myths. So once I was able to let that go and see the results that actually were happening, that's when I got more into weight training, strength and conditioning. Now I have a nice mix of things that I work with dancers with, and I do online and both in-person training. So it's a nice collaboration of all my information.
That's incredible. Everyone, please excuse my sister who's now in the back of my YouTube channel. Yes, this is on YouTube.
This is this is how we work at home. It is
No!
all fine.
No. Kelsey, I recommend you just leave. Hey, actually, people have been asking that my twin sister comes on my YouTube channel. Who would have thought?
There you
Dreams
go.
come true. I'm giving the people what they want. Okay. Anyway, there are so many things I'd love to comment on in what you just said because it's such a compelling testimonial of yours and your story of the power not only of cross training and of things like weights, which tend to be taboo, but also of the power of the way we think to dictate the way we behave and then therefore our outcomes. Um, and I like to recommend to other dancers who have been through injuries the book, I believe it's called A Body of Work by David Hallberg. I was really interested in the latter half of the book when I was going through an injury, which honestly, it was in my knee, but the process was super similar to yours.
Mhm.
It was an overuse injury caused by movement, and surgery seemed to be the answer, but it wasn't actually the answer to totally get me out of that problem and back into a functional way of being. So, but what I loved about the latter half of his book is he talks about how he went through two surgeries, I believe in his foot or ankle, and when he finally got proper care, it actually needed to be done is he needed to reverse some of the damaging effects of surgery through proper cross training and physical therapy, which those are two different things, but the exercises can, I'm sure, overlap.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was so fascinated in that example, in your example, even mine too, of the power of knowing how to train your body for optimum performance and health without just going straight away in our minds to, well, surgery is the answer, an invasive procedure is the answer. Like, what if we could just strengthen ourselves to A, prevent that, and then B, heal? It's so profound. So, anyway, I'm really grateful you shared that. Um, since you're so passionate about effective cross training, before we get into the myths, what is the difference or a few of the differences between effective and ineffective cross training for dancers?
Yeah. Well, I think we all can kind of resonate with the thought of finding a trainer or a movement coach who has a dance background or understands dancers. Um, but there is training that helps you be better at dance. And then there's trainers who understand dancers hypermobile or their movement abilities. And that second is important to find because I work in a sports medicine clinic. I share a space with them. And when they started seeing my dancers, they're excellent at what they do. And they're now excellent at treating dancers, but they worked in the athletic world. And when they started working with dancers, being able to get so deep in a hip range or they're like, my leg hurts up here. The doctors are looking across the room at me like, I've never seen anyone tell me my hip hurts and my leg is up here. So that is the first part of it, is understanding the range that the dancers go through and the bodies that they have to kind of inhabit in order to be a dancer. But what I'm really interested in, and what I do think a small percentage of dance trainers do, is give you exercises and routines that are effective for seeing results in the studio. So it's not just, can you get strong? But can you get strong, change habits that are important to your dancing, and also keep your body in a healthy state based on the biases that your body is going to be experiencing in the studio? We're in a lot of turnout. We do a lot of knee dominant bends. We don't do a lot of hip dominant things. So it's not just being strong and doing proper exercises. It's, can those actually help you be a better dancer, have better alignment, fight the issues like your ribs popping out? It's not just doing abdominals. There is a recipe that helps you actually make that alignment happen naturally and have a proper routine for that. So when I talk about effective cross training, that's more where my mind is going, is how am I able to assist a dancer in different genres of dance accomplish their dance goals and change the biases and techniques that are weak for them, so that they can perform in the studio the way they should.
Yes, absolutely. Because you're so right. I think it's really intuitive to be like, I think I need to strengthen my abs. And you do like 100 sit-ups. That's what I used to do when I was 14. And I was just like, this is the secret to success. Yes. But if you're not combining that with a fuller range of motion and bridging the gap between what do those crunches do for you when you are, for example, even in an arabesque, there could be an abdominal contraction there. Then it might do something for you to do those 100 crunches, but maybe it won't be the most effective use of your energy and your strength. So where can dancers learn or get access to support where they can bridge that gap and have an exercise routine kind of built for them, or access one that helps them in their dancing?
Well, there are several really great trainers. There's probably more than I know, but like I said, I feel like there's a lot of trainers, and I'm going to be picky and say there are a really good handful of really, really good ones that work with dancers. But one of my favorite resources is with Dance Medica. You can go to dancemedica.com, and they'll assist you to connect you with PTs, point shoe fitters, trainers, surgeons, whoever you need that we feel are based in dance science and are a little bit more global, and we all work together to see different people. And so there's just this nice network of people. So I'm totally plugging them, but unintentionally.
And then also you.
And there's a great resource there. And of course you can find me. I work with dancers privately for those that feel like, I see a lot of dancers who have hip or back or tightness, pinching, little tiny things that are bothering them. I would say if there's no structural issue, like you don't have a torn whatever, or you didn't break your ankle, then you come to me, we work on these habits and we get ourselves out of discomfort so that you can keep going. I also have online programs that I've put together for this instance of like, I don't have the finances to work with someone like me all the time. But I do want to know how to put myself through a regimen to assist me. So that's how I built my Dancer Strong program, to be a year program that takes you through training. I say it's like having a personal trainer 3 times a week all year long.
That's great.
So there's resources for that, that type of training, but you do have to kind of know where to look in finding the right person.
Right, exactly. And one more question I'm just curious about before we get into the myths. I know that there are different genres of cross training, like Pilates, mat,
Hmm.
Pilates reformer. Some people do certain kinds of yoga, or they'll do Zumba for cardio.
Right.
Done that before. Um, or running. What are some general cross training routines, or I don't know what to call them, styles that
Yeah.
you tend to be a fan of?
I'm a big fan of weights. I think that
Hmm.
everyone can have access to weights. You don't have to go to the gym to do it. You don't have to have an actual official weight. You can make something at home. So learning how to do, there's 5 basic movements in our body, and being able to do all of those well will
Hmm.
do a lot for you as a dancer. I think that walking is an underrated form of
Yes.
exercise. I think we have to run because of cardio and being athletic, but there's so many studies and evidence that walking helps your spine health, and it helps your hip health, helps
Mm.
your mental health.
Yes.
So you don't have to become a runner or a biker or a swimmer to get out and do that form. You can just walk and walk with purpose and enjoy the area that you're in. I think finding something like a good Pilates class or gyrotonic or yoga, whatever kind of fits your style of movement or maybe
Hmm.
more your weaknesses, is a
Yeah.
good idea. But like I said, those are all things that you kind of have to have access to, and that's not always the case. But
Yeah.
finding something that works with flowy movement but still asks you to be controlled and stable is one of my favorites. That's why I tend to go towards gyrotonic, or in mine, I'm a fan of Pilates, but this for me felt like a better fit for what I saw in my body and in dancers. But then there's some dancers that I think they need a little bit more stability in a linear movement form.
Yeah.
And so I recommend Pilates for them. But everything you do should be something that feels good on your body. It can be challenging, it can be hard, it can be fatiguing, but it shouldn't create pain or discomfort. And there
Yeah.
is that saying, no pain, no gain, is a bunch of bull. Just throw
Myth
that out the
number
window.
one.
Myth number 1, no pain, no gain. Get rid of it. That is absolutely not true. Pain
Yeah.
is something that is normal in our body, meaning that you will go through times of experiencing pain, but it's information. And when you look at it that way, and you start to acquire knowledge as to maybe why you're experiencing pain, why does my low back feel stiff? What have I been doing that has created this stiffness? When you start to connect those dots, you can make changes and you can guide yourself out of having these aches and pains. And that's a big part of how I work with my dancers, both in person and in the Dancer Strong program. Is I know when dancers know why, they will do something more. So it's not just this exercise is good for you, but this is why this exercise is good for you. This is what it's helping. If you're experiencing A, B, or C, you might want to try E, B, and F, and having knowledge of why your body is experiencing something will assist you to move out of it faster and ask the right questions and find the
Yeah.
right people to help you be a healthy body. But pain is normal,
Yeah.
but no pain, no gain is out.
Out. Yes. And that's, I also really appreciate how you are passionate about helping dancers know their bodies too, because
Mm-hmm.
as you're saying, that does help each of us, us dancers, help us, it helps us to understand, okay, something is off here, and be attuned to what's working, what's not, ask better questions of the people who are helping us, things like that. It starts with knowing your body. So I
Yeah.
love that you're also sharing a lot of tips on Instagram to help us understand that. So everyone go follow Align Fitness by Allie. Everything will be linked on the screen, in the description, everything. Hey dancers, I hope you're really enjoying the video so far. I just wanted to briefly talk to you about the Confident Dancer Coaching Program so that you know this resource is available to you and any other dancer you know who is tired of mental struggles like comparison, self-doubt, insecurities, imposter syndrome, performance anxiety, all of these mental struggles that are so common for us dancers, especially those of us at the pre-professional to early professional level. We know it's common, but for those of you who are struggling and are tired of struggling, you want to be a confident dancer, you want to trust yourself, you want to know what you have to offer, you want to feel good about your skill set, and you want to have the mindset that will equip you to feel your best and dance your best and accomplish your career goals. Y'all, that is what this program is about. That is why I designed it, and it is designed specifically with dancers' desires, needs, and goals in mind, so that you have support from a professional who's not only qualified as a coach and as a trainer of neurolinguistic programming, but also with someone who has a background as a professional ballet dancer and who understands what you're going through, who understands what you want, so you don't have to explain yourself. You feel understood and supported by a professional who knows how to help you get to where you want to go. That is the support I provide in this program. So if you are interested or you know someone who is, all you have to do is click the link down below to visit kirstenkemp.com, learn more about this program, everything that it includes, how it works, read amazing testimonials from past clients, and schedule a free 30-minute consultation where you and I will have the chance to get to know each other, talk about your goals, your challenges, and see if the Confident Dancer Coaching Program would be the perfect fit to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. So I can't wait to meet with some of you. Again, apply for that free consultation. It's no strings attached. See if it's going to work for you, and go ahead and apply now because spots are limited each month to only 5 dancers. So apply now. Can't wait to talk to you, and let's get on with the rest of the video. Okay, there are a couple myths I'm going to phrase in terms of a question because I kind of don't know if it's a myth or not. I'm going to be a guinea pig here.
Lay it on me.
Dancers should cross train at least 5 days a week. Myth?
I think myth.
Okay.
I think myth.
It probably depends on what you're doing.
It does depend on what you're doing. It depends on what your definition of cross training is. But I think in general, the dancer mentality is more is better. And sometimes, most of the time, more is just more. It's not always better. So doing quality over quantity will always win out, always. And what I find is that when I say I'm going to work out 5 times a week on top of my busy schedule, 2 of those workouts are kind of crappy. Like I'm not mentally in it. My body is fatigued because I've gone 3 days in a row before it. And I could have spent my time doing something better for my body for the long run. So this idea of slamming 5 times into a week, I think is overkill. And I think that also comes from the mentality of I have to do more in order to look like I'm a better dancer. And that's something we all are working on ourselves. But I would say that depending on you and your body, that 3 times a week, 2 times a week of like weighted training or doing something like Pilates or gyrotonic, it's a really good place to start. And then you can decide if your body's feeling really good, you can add something else in. But if you're considering walking and hiking and doing things, you're also adding those times in throughout your week. So when you go on a walk with your family on Saturday, there is a little bit of cross training for you. So it kind of just depends on how you're looking at it.
Yes. And I love how there's a mindset component to everything, really, because our minds are really running the show here. So we know that. But I personally have witnessed a lot of dancers approaching their cross training from a place of fear, deficit, scarcity, that kind of mentality of I'm doing this to either make up for what I ate or for making up for the fact that I don't feel good enough. I'm doing it not necessarily because it makes me feel better, but because I'm scared that if I don't, that means I'm lazy. If anyone is feeling called out by those thoughts, that is an opportunity to work more on your mind and the mental and emotional side of things, your beliefs about yourself. Maybe I'd say before you run into, well, what's a more perfect cross-training routine? Because I get it. I was there too at one point. And I love as well that in the idea of getting to know your body, also you get to know yourself too. I think we can benefit from adopting that barometer we have inside of self-awareness. Is this making me feel more strong and alive in my body in technique class the next day? Or is it not? Also, valid question, is this making me a happier person? I think that's also really valid. There are some ways of cross training that I think we engage in just because it's like, I hate it, but I need to do it. And then
Yeah.
I think there are so many options out there, whether it's yoga or Pilates reformer for me. It was super fun. I found
Hmm.
that's really fulfilling. And so, yeah, that made me excited to go. And I think that's valid to check in with yourself and ask, do I like this? Is it making me happy? I love walks as well. So it makes me really
Yeah.
happy that you're an advocate for
Hmm.
that. I'm a
Hmm.
big time walker. Okay. But next misconception, how do I want to word it? Okay. Cross training will make you bulk up. Well, specifically weights. I think that's the big one.
Yeah. Right.
Break it down.
Break it down. Okay, so this is the one I was afraid of. I love all of these and anything else I could come up with. I feel subject to. I
Yes.
was that dancer that totally fell into all of these little myths. So I can say these just with so much compassion
Yeah.
because I remember the fear of what these things would do to my body. But what we have to realize is that our muscles are meant to take load. You are a heavy human being. Gravity is heavy. Your body is meant to stand up against gravity and what's pulling you down. And it takes effort and strength to do that. The amount of work that a dancer would have to do in the gym lifting weights to actually see a change in the muscle diameter would be astounding to a dancer. It would be more than what you were doing in the studio in hours. The work that goes into it is so much to see an actual change in your muscle. So
Mm.
you, the dancer, who let's say you're even getting into the gym and lifting a medium to heavy weight 3 or 4 times a week for less than an hour, are not going to see the change, the change that we think we are. It's not going to happen. We've proven that. So we can really take a deep breath and know it's okay to lift weights. There are so many benefits to actually having a heavy weight in your hand, not just a light weight that you kind of like wave around, but a heavy
Like a
weight.
baton.
Yeah, kind of. I was thinking like
That'd be
jazzercise in the
terrifying.
80s, you know?
Yeah.
But one thing that a heavyweight does, and this is where I will tie back to having a trainer that is this little bit of extra that really understands how to train, what dancers need, and then how to use exercises. When we use a heavyweight appropriately, it really seals in new movement patterns. So it creates muscle adaptation. So if you are somebody who always is flaring their rib cage, there are certain ways of movement and exercises, combinations we can put together that are going to assist the whole body to get rid of its compensation patterns. Because it's not just that your abs aren't strong, like you did 100 sit-ups, like you said you did. So your abs are strong, but there's compensations in your body, and when we address them, and then we seal them in with a heavy weight where we can fatigue the right muscles, you will see longer lasting results in your postural change, in the change of how your muscles all work together. Something I hear dance teachers say a lot is don't use your quads, which is
Oh
another
my gosh.
myth.
I
But
know
what
that's a myth, and I am passionate about dismantling it when I teach ballet
Yes. So
classes.
that's another one we can throw in there. But what it is, it's not that we don't use your quads, it's that maybe your quads are doing too much of the work,
Yeah.
or there's something else not doing enough of the work. Or it could be your quads aren't strong enough, so they feel like they are holding and doing so much work. But
Yes.
the heavy weights are going to be an asset to you as an athlete and mover when used correctly. When not used correctly, you could injure yourself and you could just be wasting time in the gym. So
Yeah.
there are just two sides, but that does tie back to that finding the right person and really knowing that they know how to get you to your end dance result, not just be aesthetically something. And for some people, that's okay. Although I think even someone who's just running around life has a desk job, their goals are to have something that feels better. They
Yeah.
have a goal. It just is not to have their leg up here. So we all have these goals, and our exercise routines with our weights should be part of putting that whole thing together.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I'm gonna ask a selfish question because I'm really
Go
curious.
for it.
Um, okay, I'm outing myself. I get really paranoid about doing any sort of cross training
Mm-hmm.
routine that makes me tight. In my body, I build tension so easily. It's a
Mm-hmm.
huge frustration of mine. It's like I notice an area of my body feels weak and I want to improve its strength, but I'll go to a workout class or something and I feel like they overdo the heck out of like the butt exercises. And then the next day I can't turn out because my butt's so tight. And
Yeah.
so, especially when I was really taking my training seriously as a professional, I was so averse to anything that would make me tight that I think I shied away from what could have made me stronger. So my
Yeah.
question, it's really a question. It's like, what's the difference between a worthy cause of being tight or okay tension versus
Yeah.
too much?
Yeah. There's a couple facets to this, and I totally know what you mean. My personal opinion, and this is totally my personal opinion, but I think that dancers in general think that their loosey goosiness is good. And
Yeah.
and loosey goosey, think of it like a really stretched out rubber band. Like that rubber band still has a purpose. It still needs to be able to tie my hair back, but I have to wrap it like 5 or 6 times because it's loosey goosey. But I have my brand new rubber band that's very tight and it does its job. It still does its
Wow,
job.
that's a good metaphor.
I know. I always have one on. I always have one on my wrist. I actually took it off for this. Um, but your body is the same. I am not saying that tightness equals restriction, but I think the sense of what dancers think their body should feel like is too loosey goosey in general. And
Hmm.
again, my personal opinion. Um, the tightness that you might be feeling. Now, tightness is not almost another word for pain when we start to really get
Yeah.
into things.
Oh yeah,
Tightness,
it gets
where
painful.
yeah, where restriction happens, it's not normal. And when
Hmm.
you know how to deal with it, it's information. For instance, your tight hip flexors, that feeling of like, I just always need to stretch out the front of my hips, or
Yeah.
like there's always some kind of feeling in your hip flexors. There actually should be no feeling in your hip flexors. They should just be part of your body and
Mm.
they should do their job. I know, right? Like, Mike's like,
Oh, you should talk to my
what?
massage therapist. Every time she's like has her elbow in there and she's like, "It's like a rope."
Yeah.
Maybe I actually have
Yeah.
really bad technique. That's what we're learning today.
No, I'm sure not. But there is there's a level of this tightness that I think is acceptable for dancers. And when you have chronic tightness, those hip flexors are a great example. When you live with a life where you're like, my hip flexors are always tight, it is because something else is weak or not doing its job.
Hmm.
And to answer your what is worthwhile, this is where having a good trainer that knows what your goals are important, because I would, if we were working on those tight hip flexors, I would say we are going to kill your glutes today in the best way possible, because when the glutes do their job, your hips can soften and relax.
Hmm.
And dancers can feel, and after you do the work, an instant change in your hip flexors. But I always ask my dancers every time I see them, so what's going on this week? Like, it's YAGP coming up. You have to be able to turn out. Let's not kill
Yeah.
your glutes for your hip flexor's sake, because the detailed work you need for turnout is different than what we're going to
Hmm.
do to make your hip flexors feel a little bit better. So this is where knowing the difference and what works and doesn't work is really important. So
Yeah.
your glutes are part of your turnout, and there's a way to work them to stabilize for turnout and for an actionable result of I perform tomorrow. And then there's the times to say like, okay, so to maybe tomorrow turnout's not going to be your best thing, but it's okay because you're not in performance. You have a rest day the day after, and this is part of the growth that will happen for the overall goal of being the best dancer you can. So tomorrow, why don't you focus on port de bras and balance instead of turnout and
Wow.
your tendu or whatever it is. So we have to be able to change our focus, but this does come all the way back to having somebody that you trust can help you navigate what's happening in the dance world each week that you are seeing them.
Allie, I didn't expect my mind to be blown. I also just had a personal epiphany here that I mean, I'm just calling myself out left and right this whole
I do
conversation.
that all
So,
the time on the podcast.
right? Like why not
I'm just
just
gonna share
keep
this about
going?
myself.
Yeah, so here's something I realized. I realized that I acknowledge doctors for their expertise and I don't try to be a doctor for
Mhm.
myself. I'm realizing that I have had a very DIY mindset about
Mhm.
cross training, and I have not fully acknowledged the value of having a trainer.
Yeah.
Even after everything I did in my training, career, whatever, I'm shocked at how much I overestimated the DIY approach because you're right. I think I wrote so many different approaches off because it was like, oh, well, I tried it like 2 times and it made me tight. So, oh, I need to be able to perform at the same level every single day. But maybe if I had some accountability with someone who's like, okay, well, could you actually afford to feel sore tomorrow? Yeah,
Mhm.
for this worthy cause, that would
Yeah.
have been transformative. And I encounter some people, I witness a lot of the DIY mindset around mindset work too. It's like,
Mhm.
Kirsten, give me a quick tip on how to overcome like this
Fix
crazy
everything.
imposter syndrome. What's your best tip? I'm like, girl, I have a tip,
Yeah.
but I am never going to tell you that, like, it's going to change your life. You have to talk to someone. You have to
Yeah.
talk to someone. So, anyway, I wanted to call myself out there. Maybe others watching are feeling the same. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I could just watch Instagram reels and figure
Right.
out the perfect sequence for a perfect turnout. No,
Right.
can't.
Well, this goes into another quick myth of there are good exercises and bad exercises.
Yes.
I truly, truly believe that there are no bad movements,
Hmm.
but there are movements that are not good for you at this moment in time based off of what's going on in your life or body.
Yeah.
For instance, I have herniated a disc in the past, which meant that bending forward was excruciating.
Oof.
So my rehab was movements that looked like port de bras back or extension, and they were very hip dominant, and I couldn't bend forward. Uh, Now I bend forward. Bending forward's not a bad motion. We have to be able to bend forward.
Yeah.
But during that time, if you'd asked me to bend forward, my eyes would have popped out of my head and been like, "Excuse me," like I can't do that. So if somebody had asked me what's the best tip for your back health at that moment for my body, it
Yeah.
would have been don't bend forward. But that's not an overall good tip. So
Hmm.
there the glutes exercises. There are ways to do glutes that one cue can completely change that feeling. So as you're talking about that tightness you felt, there's even a possibility or probability that changing the way you've done the exercise, it looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same. And you might still be sore, but you might not have that same tightness or restriction that you were
Yes.
talking about. So there is the myth that there is good and bad. I think there is good cueing and bad cueing. I don't think it has
Hmm.
anything to do with the exercise. So, and then there's
Wow.
good exercise selection and there's bad exercise selection. And that's again based off of you, the body. And this is where a
Yeah.
DIY system is not going to help you because you don't know. I can't DIY making food at home, making a gourmet like meal. I don't know that. That's not my skill set. Even if you said these are all the ingredients, make it. I would
Hmm.
use all the ingredients, but it would not be the right like end result.
Exactly.
That's the
Yeah.
same with the exercises. You might see on Instagram or even follow a YouTube video that you're like, I did all the exercises they said, but how you do them, the time in which you spend doing them, the intensity, the volume, the heat you turn up or don't turn up, that's what makes the success of the recipe of exercises, not just the exercises themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, I think a good tip for the dancers watching is to recognize this is something I would not have had to think through in my era of growing up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but in this era where there is so much free information on the internet, I imagine a misconception is that great, I can get these results for free. But I do want to make people aware that it's not as if this information is useless. Otherwise, we wouldn't be spending our time
Mm-hmm.
creating it and sharing it. It does good things. I just do think it's very important to tell dancers that one of the main benefits of free content is awareness of options. It helps you to know and assess your own situation better. Like, oh, maybe I need a fitness trainer and I didn't know I needed one before. Oh, maybe, that is one exercise that I can add into my routine. Yeah, that helps a little bit. It's designed for quick wins, for awareness, for overall education. But I think there is a misconception, and I encounter dancers who kind of have this misconception, I think, with my content as well, that like, great, I can piece this together and have perfect mental health, or I could have a perfect body for dance.
Yeah.
No, like a lot of these creators online we're all trying to help and we're spreading awareness and I think messages that we think are worthwhile, but do give yourself the gift of realistic expectations and also know that all of us are also sharing what we share so that we can help you be aware of what we do and how we'd love to help you. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's worth putting out there that I haven't actually talked about before.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that all the information, I use it as tastes of like
Hmm.
who does what and who do I connect with and what verbal cues do I like. I've done that in searching out for my own nutrition health, in finding mental health as well.
Hmm.
And then even just um, like business things, like finding
Yes,
business coaches. I have looked online to kind of get the feel of the person before I make an educated decision on where I'm spending my time and money with
totally.
someone. I'd look at it like a really detailed calling card. Like
Hmm.
you get a lot of information from someone, but it's not the product that you're looking for. It's just to help you make the best decision possible.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I agree. How about this? Is there one more myth you'd like to cover? Or another general tip that you'd like to introduce into the conversation, or even underline a tip that you've already shared in our conversation, kind of to finish out?
Yes. Well, there's so many, but I feel like one that I'm hearing a lot right now is with cardio or weights, which one burns more fat
Ah,
or more calories? And I think that this is an important topic to quickly throw out there. One is that I'm not the expert in creating programs that you lose body fat. That is not my focus. I've chosen not to make that my focus. But what I do know is that when you're looking at the difference between the two, kind of the main idea right now is that when you are lifting weights, specifically heavy weights, it is what will assist you to lose fat. When you're doing cardio, you will lose weight, which means fat
hmm.
and muscle. Muscle is the first thing to go, and we do
Uh-oh.
not want to lose our muscle.
I've been on a
So,
big cardio kick. Gosh, I'm
oh,
doing everything
yes.
wrong, Allie.
Oh,
But I
yeah,
have so
don't.
much fun doing this dance cardio class.
Then that's great. That's great.
Cool.
So that's right into cardio is important and weights are important. They do
Yeah.
different things, but when we're talking about weight loss, or what I think we should be saying is specifically fat loss, because
Yeah.
we don't want to be losing our bone density. We don't want to be losing our muscle mass. We
Mm.
don't want to be losing the fluid and the water that we need in our body. If you're talking about losing weight, you're talking about losing fat, and there are better ways to do that. Now, the caveat to that, or it should actually is the main thing, is that if you are someone looking to lose fat, the best place will be doing that with a registered dietitian.
Hmm.
The there's an old saying that I don't love, but I kind of love, is that abs are made in the kitchen. And
I didn't hear
it's
that before.
it's kind of like, there's so many things I don't like about that, but I do think in essence it's true.
Hmm.
You could be called a cardio bunny. Like, you could be at the gym running or biking till your heart's desire, trying to lose weight, or you could even be lifting weights as much as you can to try to lose that fat. But you have to have the right balance of your meals and your macros in order to see a change in your body fat. And that does not mean cutting calories to an extreme level or
Hmm.
even cutting calories at all. It means understanding your body chemistry and how everything works together. One of the main reasons that I got out of even trying to focus on fat loss was because I realized how much hormones have to do with
Yes.
your body, or with the regulation of your fat and your muscle mass and everything. And that is a scientific area all on its own. And it's an education I don't have. And I'm not going to spend my time right now getting as a choice. So
Mm.
when you're working with someone, a registered dietitian, nutritionist dietitian is going to have that education for you.
Yes.
So if you're someone, a dancer who's looking at that, there's a lot of avenues to consider, and our mental health is the first of it. But look more at the having someone who knows how to assist you with your hormones, with making sure that your food groups are balanced. That will do more for you than cutting calories. And it will do more for you than turning into a cardio bunny running around, because you're going to be losing your muscle mass, which muscle mass helps lose fat, and it keeps you doing your activities, and it keeps you healthy, and your immune system high, and your longevity going, and your mental health, and all the things. So I think that's an
Wow.
important one to end on.
So important. I mean, for me, that was the most profound point of the whole video, and I'm so thankful you shared it because I know that speaks to me currently in my life for sure, but even more so, I imagine myself being 16 years old and hearing that would have changed my life.
Yeah.
I wish I knew that. And yeah, I'm also very thankful for your integrity in staying in your lane. I think having more professionals model that, and it doesn't mean be overly emphasizing, oh, I can't do that, but rather just owning what you're there to do and how you are choosing to help dancers, because sure, you can go get the qualifications to do whatever you want, but you're thoughtfully choosing the lane you want to occupy and helping dancers increase their strength, fitness, that kind of a thing. I'm just really thankful that you shared that, because I know there is a lot of mythology even just around that last point, that I'm sure many dancers are having negative impacts in their lives because they're thinking, I just need to go run for an extra hour to make up for what I ate. And really, yeah, the working with a dietitian would be pretty life-changing.
Yeah. Yes, for
So,
sure. It'll
thank
be
you.
definitely worth your effort and time if that is one of your major goals.
Yeah. If it's a goal. Yeah, and then there's
Yep.
also the mental side of that where it's like, should that be a goal though?
Mm-hmm.
Should
Yeah.
that be a goal? And then there's even the systemic side of that of, is someone in leadership imposing that goal on you that you wouldn't otherwise choose for yourself? So we acknowledge all the sides of these
Yes.
complicated matters,
Yes.
and it's not like we have all the answers, but I think even, like I said, being in integrity and mentioning them is really important for people watching. So thank you for that. Wow. I might use that last part as a highlight reel on Instagram because, woof,
Wonderful.
or I'm just going to put in the description of this video, whatever you do, click this timestamp to the last 5 minutes of this video if you do nothing else.
All you do is spend 5 minutes with us. Click here.
That one. Well, oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Allie.
Oh,
I'd
you're
love to
so
finish off
welcome.
by asking, where can people find you on the internet and how can they work with you?
Of course. Best place will be on Instagram at Align Fitness by Allie, and then my website is alignfitnessbyallie.com. That would be the best place to either schedule an evaluation, or you can also schedule a chat with me if you want to know more. All my online programs are on there. But Instagram is really the place to have, you get to a good taste. Like we said, it's a good
Yeah.
taste of what I do and what some of my philosophies are. And there's a lot of tangible tips for you to take into your practice there. I'm also on YouTube, but it's not as prominent as Instagram is right now, but you could also find me there, and you'll see kind of more explanations and longer videos on YouTube. So if you're into the whys that we are doing certain things, YouTube will be a great place for you, because we have the time in those videos to discuss and talk about those things.
Yes, perfect. I'll link all of those things. And now that also helps me understand why I'm on YouTube, because I like to talk long and
Yes.
deep.
There's a place for everyone. I know. You find your niche. You find the place that you like to get information, and then you stick to it.
Seriously. Yeah, because here's me on Instagram. Like, oh, I realize I've been filming stories for I just saved 30 videos. Oh, that was a YouTube video I just filmed, not an
Yeah.
Instagram story.
Yes. Totally. I totally
Oh man.
relate.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
TikTok's not my thing. It's too short. I don't like it.
Seriously, well, you do great things on Instagram. So yes,
Thank
people
you.
follow Allie, please. Allie, thank you so much for what you shared
Oh,
today.
thank you for
It was
having
so
me.
good.
Anytime. We'll do it again sometime. Talk about another thing.
Rock on. Yes, and honorable mention, you and I will be in Miami, Florida. If y'all are watching this in real time and you're an adult ballet dancer, sign up for the International Adult Ballet Festival. We're going to be teaching together in Miami.
We're going to be there all week. And
Maybe I'll just be shimmying.
I just fist bump. You shimmy and I just run around and like fist bump.
We're going to have a good time.
Yes, I just imagine that we're going to be like literally just running around, having fun, taking classes, teaching, talking to people. Like it's just going to be a great week. So
it's going to be a blast.
If you want to join us, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna wear a French twist all week and like put one of those drink umbrellas in my French twist. I think that embodies the energy that I'm feeling for this event.
I think that would be amazing.
I think I'll do it. Well, what a way to finish this video.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for watching. If you're still here, God bless. And Allie, thanks again. We're gonna see you again on this channel sometime in the future.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, bye everyone.